issues that I think need to be raised. My friend who compared the program started by saying that the organization is non-political. I was a little saddened to hear that an organization should be non-political. It's okay being non-political in the sense that you don't want to, aspire to a seat, collect money and then participate in elections. You can say we are non-political because we don't want to contest elections, join a political party and so on, which I think is also a good thing to do. And my colleague, the Deputy Chief Minister, is here from a very renowned and well-respected political party. But there is in one sense that you must be political. All young people, middle-aged, old, everybody, but young people particularly, you must be political in the sense that politics is the art of improving the conditions of the people of your country, of your state, of your village, through struggle, right? So politics is always change in society organized on a large scale. You might do it at the state level, national level, you might do it in your village. And politics is a debate on ideas, policies, what is good, what is bad, who is good, who is bad, always in the context not of gup-shup and chit-chat and so on, but in the context of struggle. Mass struggle, people struggle, demonstrations, strikes, all kinds of things which today sometimes your elders will tell you, perhaps your parents will tell you. Many times today, it's unfortunate, your professors will tell you, no, don't rock the boat. No politics on campus. No speaking out on controversial ideas. We are in that period where speech is suppressed, the flow of ideas are suppressed, vibrant debate, which I used to have when I was a student, suppressed. So I was a little saddened when he says we are non-political. All of you will have a political fervor inside you to change society, to make it a better place to live in, and to fight against tyranny and injustice. That is the importance of an organization like yours. So I do hope in the days to come, in the years to come, that you will change. Not be frightened of saying we are political, but say it openly. We are political. Perhaps we are non-party political, but we want India to change because there are many things in India which are downright terrible, and we want to change this. Now I want to talk about 10 or 11 points about Tripura. And you will forgive me if I make mistakes, but I take it from my colleagues, my lawyer friends, my activist friends in Tripura. So I hope I'm not misunderstood. And you who come from Tripura will know things better than I do. So forgive me, give me a little bit of leeway if I make a mistake. I want to talk about a burning issue, which is land of the tribals taken away from tribals. And I believe a meeting like this should encourage discussion on issues and not sweep them under the carpet. You know that the tribals, the indigenous people, are the original inhabitants of the land. But at some stage, they were told, where's your document? And tribals don't have document, indigenous people don't have document. Often. And you must know that in international law of indigenous people, an indigenous person is not expected to have a document. You have ownership, you have lived there as of right. How dare should anybody, any Sarkari person or anybody else, a non-tribal, say, where is your document to this land? And your answer is, this is my land, my forefathers, my great grandfathers and grandmothers came from this land. So they were asked for documents. And apparently at some stage, lakhs of applications were made. Tell us your name, give us your plot details, etc., 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 which was lying in the SDM's office. Now, the indigenous people feel that we made an application, right? Like I was saying, in international law, no document is to be asked for. Possession, unless it is of course forceful possession. Possession is haq. Possession is right. So now the tribals are said, where's your document? You made an application, we have not yet said okay to you, so where's your document? The consequences of this is when land acquisition takes place. And as you know, in your state, land acquisition is quite a ferocious tyrant. You have, for example, the gas pipeline, you have the railway track, you have highways, and you have projects galore. So when you go and say, forget that you're opposed to land acquisition, because you can't be heard if you don't have a title to land. You can't say, I oppose this project. But even when you go for compensation, you will be told that where is your land? Where is your right? So compensation, which would be, let's say, 40 lakhs, will come down and down and down and down. And I'm told that there's a system, you'll get one notification that you'll get this 40 lakhs. Then little later, the government person will tell you, not 40 lakhs, sorry, we made a mistake in our calculation, it's 20 lakhs or 10 lakhs. And when you go to collect, you'll be told that, listen, to get you this clearance and to get all your papers in order, we had to pay A, B, C, D, E. So now you'll get 6 lakhs or 7 lakhs and things like that. Land acquisition. Point number one of the greatest tyrannies taking place for a long time, but a tyranny taking place today in Tripura. Even when houses are demolished, you will be told that the land on which your house stood, where is your ownership to that land? And therefore compensation even for houses that are demolished becomes a very big contentious issue where you have to bargain with the officials, bribe and bargain and do this and do that to get some paltry sum of money after many years of fighting. Now I come to the Forest Rights Act. Pattas are given. Lakhs of pattas are given. Okay, under the Forest Rights Act, you have a right to get some land, tell us your plot, etc., etc., etc. And you have, I am told, tens of thousands of persons to whom the government, may not be the present government, may some earlier government maybe, has given them a patta. So they take that patta, very happy that they are getting land, and they'll go to the land and find, where is this land? Where is the land that I've got this patta, I've got a piece of paper, but where is the land? Where is the demarcation done so I can rightly go and put my flag, so to speak, on my land and say, here I've got my land? And there are tens of thousands of such people with pattas. But they are roaming around. They don't know where their land is, and the government officials will also not tell them exactly where their land is. And I was told that there are lakhs of patta holders, but even if there are tens of thousands for a state like Tripura, that is quite a big figure. And after 2021, I am told, that fresh pattas have not been issued. So the implementation of the Forest Rights Act, and there's a case pending in the Supreme Court on this, and the Tripura government affidavit on the giving and implementation of the Act is a very dismal affidavit. It's a powerful act. It was meant to recognize people, indigenous people, who've been on lands for generations. and who were always treated as illegal. The officials will come, they'll fine you this, they'll fine you that, they'll punish you like this, they'll punish you like that. Where is your document? So the Forest Rights Act says, you fill up this form, you give us these details of your land, and we'll give you land officially and legally. But where is the state of Tripura implementing the Forest Rights Act? Where is that legal title which an indigenous person is entitled to? I focus particularly on the indigenous persons because I believe that they have a pretty raw deal in the state. Not just now, maybe for the last 10, 15 years. Immigration has been totally uncontrolled. So those who were the masters and mistresses of the state are now in a minority of 29%, I'm told. What can you do? How do you reverse this? How do you get justice for indigenous people, the original inhabitants of the state? How do you do that? It seems almost impossible today to even dream that the indigenous people will get back their position on the land. Education. Controversial. English medium, there's a report I'm told, that 70% of the people of the state, indigenous people at least, say that they would like to have their education in mother tongue, English, or English. Right? There's a terrible judgment of the Supreme Court, where the Supreme Court said this mother tongue business is not acceptable. Parents will choose exactly in what language their children will be taught. I think that's a very wrong judgment. The BJP government as a center has been making some noises about, positive noises, about mother tongue. It is the most important thing in education that you don't scramble the young student's brain by aspiring to this Western-oriented English education. You will get it. You can't avoid English. You will get it at some time, some place, you will learn it. But you must learn your mother tongue. And if you get a chance in school to study and speak and work in mother tongue, and you learn English or French or German or Sanskrit or anything else, what a versatile human being you will be. What a versatile child you will be. So mother tongue is a very, very important issue. I am told, and I think on this I will be pretty certain when I say this, the rural schools are in terrible shape, awful shape. First of all, whether you will get teachers to teach, whether you will get teachers who will attend the school, whether you will get those teachers to teach you in mother tongue or in some other language, whether you'll have toilets for the girls to go to, forget the boys, toilets, clean toilets for the girls to go to. So I'm told in the rural Tripura, it's a terrible state of affairs. And it's sad because our country is a rich country. You should see our politicians abroad when they go and they speak that we are, earlier they used to say we are an Asian tiger. When the growth rate was 4%, 5%, today they say growth rate is 7%. So you can easily say, India can easily say, our Prime Minister can proudly say that we are a world economic tiger. But we also have something like 60% of our population, 600, 700 million people below a poverty line of $5 a day. Unheard of internationally. I'm speaking globally now because we are supposed to be a global power. How can we have 7% growth rate and poverty with 700 million people in hunger and deprivation and anemia, and women being anemic and weak, children being stunted with shrunken brains? What kind of justice do we have in our country? What is the purpose of talking about 7% GDP when your poverty and hunger and malnutrition, starvation is there for everybody to see? Why should in Tripura your schools not be up to the mark in the rural areas, top of the line schools? Why? We all know the answer. It's not shortage of money. It's not that there's no law, there's the Right to Education Act. It's not that our politicians are not clever. Of course they are clever. They're as clever as any politician anywhere in the world. But they just don't care. The rich don't care for the poor. The powerful don't care for the weak. And so if people in the rural areas don't have drinking water in their schools, or toilets so that girls can safely go there, or teachers who would come regularly, who cares? Who cares? And that is why, my friend, I came for this meeting, because I remember the Tripura meeting of 3 years ago. It was a bit more of a robust meeting. There were about 100, 200 students, and there was a lot of give and take and talk and criticism and interjections and hands up, answers given, not satisfied, criticism of the speaker, and so on. If the young in Tripura, and others of course, but if the young, the students of Tripura, don't turn into radical students, and I'm saying this particularly, I'm using that term, because you know, in the present culture in our country, those who are radical and non-violent, remember this, radical in their speech, forceful in their speech, uncompromising in their speech, which is protected under 19(1)(a) of the Constitution, freedom of speech and expression. You can say anything you want absent violence, absent instigation of violence and creation of, you can say anything you want. And there's a judgment of the Supreme Court, Rangarajan, which says, even speech hateful of the government is protected. And in Rangarajan, another little phrase so that you understand what free speech means. In an environment in India, extreme environment where people are sent to jail for years for speaking out against government. Therefore, if there's any purpose of me coming here today, it is to instigate young people. Speak out fearlessly. Because the more you cover, the more you retreat, the more you are afraid, the more you tremble, this government will stop your rights completely. Remember that. In the urban areas, you can get pretty good schools. So why is it that a government can give you quality education in the cities and rubbish, third grade, degenerate kind of situation in the rural areas? So this is one point I flag. I'm sorry that I missed my very respected friend Pradyut today. He seems like a ray of light in an otherwise very dark environment, where there are dark clouds. Politically, there are dark clouds everywhere. But Pradyut in Tripura, forgive me if those of you have an opposite point of view, but I must say I think he's a rather shining light. I was hoping to say this to his face. Now you all can tell him what I said about him. And I say this is a little strange for me to say this, because I generally am not very appreciative of the work done in the political sphere. Not appreciative at all. I believe it's degenerating very badly. But Pradyut, I think, has started an organization also. And he talks of Greater Tripura land. And he started this Tripura party. And I wouldn't be surprised if in the days and months and years to come, if he stays on his course, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him emerging as a very important political leader in the state. He is hedged in by the fact that the minority community has shrunk to 29% of the state population. So his voice may reverberate among the minorities, indigenous people, but I'm not sure what will happen at the state level with him anyway. But I was told he set up a hospital in the headquarters, Kumulang. Pronouncing this correctly. Mulang, right? Kumulong. Sorry, very sorry. And he's expanded it from 50 beds to 150 beds. He was active during COVID, oxygen supply, blood banks, and he's also starting an English medium kind of a school and so on. So I'm sorry to miss him, but and I also heard, and this is connected again with land acquisition, that there's a project, JICA project, together with Japan for tribal upliftment and forest conservation and so on. And it is a sign of discrimination against the indigenous people that when they recruited people, the state government recruited, majority of people were not from the indigenous community. And then there was a case in the High Court, there was some positive result in that case, I don't really know. But I suspect that the discrimination, the point I'm trying to make, I may not be very correct on minute particulars, but I think I would be correct on the overall thing, that the discrimination against the minorities continues to the indigenous minorities continue to this day and is expected to continue. So my dear young students and my young friends, what will you do? What stand will you take? How ferocious will you be? How outspoken will you be? I reacted a little bit to the program being called a show and an event. Neither a show nor an event. I hope my talk changes the complexion of this. It's a serious getting together of young people. It's a serious getting together of young people who want to change their state, who want to change the terrible conditions of our people and the tyranny that they face, the injustice that they face from certain quarters. It's not a show. It's not an event at all. It's a very serious endeavor where, if you take it to its logical conclusion, as a non-violent agitator, you'll probably land up in jail in the present environment. Do you have the courage? Do you have the conviction? Do you have the determination to change the conditions of your people? Do you love your country? People say, I love my country. Wave the flag. But will you really take steps to improve the country of your people when there are so many forces against you to stop you? Do we really love our country? That we are willing to sacrifice, speak up for our country. No matter what. As long as I don't break the law, as long as I don't advocate violence, will you be freedom fighters of a new period? Now fighting against a foe that is much more dangerous than the British government. Now fighting against tyranny that is much more powerful than the British government. Because now we're all brown skins or yellow skins or whatever skins. Can't make out any difference, you know. And we speak the same language and so on and so forth. The health audit in Tripura shows that money from the banks, and this is true of many states, we have a case from Nagaland in the Supreme Court, but there's a health audit in Tripura which says that officials took money out of the bank, the National Rural Health Mission money, and put it into their own accounts. Then we have the STD reservation. This is again discrimination. A seat reserved for ST. And you'll give some excuse or the other, no, we didn't find somebody good enough. And in the process of marking a person, you have the interview, where in the interview, the ST persons are shown as 0. On other scores, they'll be shown getting high score. But what will drag them down is the fact that the ST interview score will be shown as 0. So de-reservation of ST seats. And then of course it goes to the general category people. They have degrees, they have master's degrees, they have decent degrees. Why don't you give them the post? It's an ST post, you can't find another ST. Never mind if his interview score is 0, which is very suspicious. But never mind and give him or give her the post. Then I've been doing cases on trafficking from Tripura, heart-rending stories. What kind of a country we live in, no? It's not restricted to Tripura. This is all heart-rending stories of young girls. Probably all this spurred by poverty and by police connivance. Police who are supposed to stop trafficking will be the one who will aid the trafficker. Get their share of the loot and maybe also ask that the girls be sent to them. Trafficking of little girls, young girls from Tripura to West Bengal, Delhi, Bangalore, Bombay. Unrestricted. Unrestricted. What do you do, my dear friend? What do you do? I spent my whole life fighting, and today I feel if I make an assessment of my life, today we are in a worse of condition than we were in 1975 when I graduated from IIT Bombay. Worse! But you must fight to make our beautiful India, our beautiful and romantic and wonderful Tripura, to make it retain the glory that it is capable of. People say, we'll turn you into a Switzerland, we'll turn you into a this, into a that. I say, forget it, we don't need to be turned into Switzerland. Just the state, Tripura state, rendering justice would turn Tripura into an internationally known place for justice and peace. And finally, drugs, which is a big issue. I've been doing some cases from Manipur, and I think the situation in Tripura will be the same. Heavy influx of drugs. Heavy influx of drugs. Uncontrolled. And uncontrolled, why? Because it cannot be controlled or it is not intended to be controlled. Because the persons engaging in trafficking in drugs will be the politicians, possibly ministers, and the police. In the Manipur case, it is ministers going in their official cars accompanied by police escorts. Crossing the border, nobody will touch them, everyone will salute you. A drug trafficker carrying in the boot of your car huge quantities of drug and come into Manipur, distribute it. I suspect it's probably the situation in Tripura. I can't say for certain, like I said. I just talk to my friends who know a little bit here and there, so forgive my ignorance of this, but I believe it's a serious problem. And so with this, I end by thanking you once again for calling me here today. I'm sorry I have to leave. There was a conference and we got a little late, I think, in starting, and I have to go there. But I want you in future, when you organize your meetings, please organize it in a robust way on issues that trouble every person in Tripura. I know 90% of us, maybe 80, 70%, have given up. And we'll say, okay, now I got my degree from Delhi University, I get my postgraduate degree, and then I want to go abroad. I want to go here, I want to go abroad. But to those of you who feel you want to stay and fight, and fighting is an activity which is constitutionally protected, I wish you good luck in this journey of the human rights struggle. It is the most glorious, it's the most wonderful thing that a young person with idealism in their hearts can do. Others may forget their idealism and become old very young, become skeptical, become, dispirited. Oh, it can't be done. My father says this, my boyfriend says this, my husband says this. Don't get involved, don't cause trouble, don't rock the boat. My message to you as I go, rock this boat as much as you can. Fiercely fight for human rights. It's not going to be given to you on a platter. If you don't do that, if you don't do it with all your might, the battle against human rights is lost. I believe it can be won. I believe in this country, given the situation in this country, of women, children, slum dwellers, juggy dwellers, disabled people, acid attack victims, workers, indigenous people, 80